Hola a todos y buen día. Soy Tasha de Tasha Teaches Spanish y tú estás mirando a otro episodio de Hablamos Español. What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Hablamos Español, where our goal is to shine a light and highlight those who are contributing to the diversification of foreign language learning. Another way of a more complex way of simply saying, I want to highlight folks who we often don't see in foreign language spaces, and that's usually melanated people. So that makes other people think we don't learn languages isn't for us, but a lot of times it makes us end up thinking learning languages isn't for us other than English and Ebonics. So no, you can learn Espanol, Francés, Alemán, Coreano. It's all for you. It's all yours for the taking. So today, hoy, tengo conmigo Ashley French, but I don't know if she speaks French, but I know she speaks Espanol. Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am, es un placer. So, to you, the viewer, I'm sure by now, if you haven't watched my episodes by now, where have you been? Just kidding. I'm happy you're here. But for those of you who have been following, you already know what we're starting off with, and that is the guest's introduction in Espanol. Great opportunity for you to practice your Spanish, see what you know, see what you don't know. What do you understand out of what Ashley and I are about to discuss? Okay, so it usually lasts 5 minutes. But sometimes if the guest and I are on a roll, it could be 15. So hang in there. Hang in there. Okay, here we go. Pregunta número uno. Sabemos ya que tu nombre es Ashley French, ¿no? Pero, Ashley, ¿de dónde eres?
Bueno, yo soy de Florida. Yo soy de una ciudad bien pequeña en el norte del estado. Y bueno, ahora estoy viviendo en Tampa Bay.
Ok, ¿cómo se llama el pueblo pequeño?
Live Oak.
Okay.
Live Oak, Florida, así se llama, sí.
Y está cerca a la frontera con,
Sí,
Georgia.
con Georgia.
¿Está arriba? Okay.
Sí, con Georgia. Están en medio de Jacksonville y Tallahassee.
Ok, qué bueno. Pero Tampa Bay, claro, es más grande. Ok,
Sí.
perfecto. Entonces, ¿tu trabajo o trabajos? Pero más o menos, ¿qué haces? ¿Para ganar dinero? Sí.
Yo soy profesora de español en una escuela pública, en una escuela secundaria. Y bueno, yo enseño todos los niveles. Este año yo tengo español 2, 3, 4 y también AP.
¡Woo!
Sí, estoy cansada.
Es
Si no
mucho,
pueden ver,
sí.
estoy bien cansada.
Sí, es mucho. Yo tuve un poco tiempo como profesora o maestra de español en una escuela secundaria, un año solo. Tuve, creo que solo fue un nivel también, español 1, pero 2 o 3 clases y fue demasiado. Pero, y depende de la clase, los estudiantes, si ellos quieren aprender, hay factores diferentes,
Claro.
pero para niveles diferentes, tú tienes que preparar actividades diferentes, lecciones diferentes y añadir en cada nivel un reto y bla, 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 bla.
Y también ahora estamos en línea y también tengo estudiantes cara a cara en persona conmigo al mismo tiempo. So, es mucho.
Entonces ahora tú eres todo, la persona de tecnología, la profesora, no como se dice, disciplinadora, no sé, pero sí,
Está
todo.
bien, estamos comunicando. A veces tenemos que inventar palabras, ¿no? Para poder comunicar.
Sí, pero la cosa más importante es que la otra persona entiende.
Sí, claro.
Es mi opinión. ¿Por cuántos años has enseñado en la escuela?
Este es mi 9º año. 9 años.
Ay.
En la misma escuela.
Hoy en día, tú puedes ser considerada una veterana, porque muchos maestros no pueden sobrevivir y ellos salen.
Es cierto, sí, es cierto.
Ok, ¿qué más? Ahora, tus pasatiempos, ¿cuáles son?
Pasas. De verdad, yo no tengo mucho tiempo libre, pero claro, me gusta escuchar música, me gusta ver televisión. Acabo de encontrar un show nuevo en Netflix. Se llama Criminal y tiene, ¿sabes cómo en Netflix tienen colecciones diferentes, verdad? Que hay un show y hay otras versiones.
Sí.
Y bueno, hay un show que se llama Criminal. Tienen Criminal UK, Criminal France, Criminal Spain y también Germany. Y claro,
Wow.
están hablando en esos idiomas, etcétera. Pues muy buena oportunidad de practicar. Muy
Wow.
interesante. Están en un salón interrogando al criminal sospechado. Y están hablando, etcétera. Es muy interesante. Y hay, sí, para las personas que están aprendiendo idiomas diferentes, pues muy buena recomendación. Pero es para adultos.
Gracias.
Para
Criminal.
adultos. Criminal.
Perdón, sí. Ok,
Sí.
muy bien. Nunca he escuchado de esta serie. Y frecuentemente no miro a programas internacionales, pero uno que me encanta es, ¿cómo se llama? Ay, ay, ay. Es un show francés.
Uh-huh.
Y ay, no recuerdo el nombre, perdón, voy a mencionarlo más tarde,
Okay.
pero y más o menos fue mi primer tiempo, la primera vez que yo tuve interés en un show de otro país y yo tuve que escuchar al dub, a
Uh-huh.
la versión en inglés, pero sí, ¿cómo se? Es más o menos sobre un ladrón quien roba para razones, bueno, no es como Robin Hood, pero similar. No
Es un
recuerdo.
show nuevo.
Sí,
Lu-
es
Lupin.
Lupin.
Lupin. No,
Sí,
Lupón.
eso
Sí.
eso
Sí.
es. Sí.
A mí me encantó. Casi no puedo esperar hasta la temporada nueva que va a
Sí.
venir en el año que viene.
Y yo estaba enojado porque cuando estaba mirando al último episodio, yo dije, 5 episodios. ¿Qué?
Uh-huh.
Pero alguien me dijo que eso es normal a veces para los shows internacionales.
Nacionales, sí.
Okay.
Y no me gustó tanto este último episodio tampoco. No me gustó cómo terminó. Pero claro, tenemos que
Sí,
esperar. Vamos a ver lo que pasa.
sí, sí. Ok, continuamos. Tengo 2, 3 preguntas más en español.
Okay.
Ah, digamos de tu familia, por favor, tu familia propia o la familia de donde vienes.
Soy soltera, pero bueno, mi papá es de Jamaica y mi mamá es afroamericana. Y bueno, eso es todo. No
En
tengo
fin,
hijos
no tienes hermanos.
tampoco.
Ah,
Soy la única hija.
yo también, más o menos. Tengo 2 hermanos, pero ellos son del lado de mi papá.
Ajá.
Yo, durante mi juventud, siempre yo estaba sola en la casa con mi mamá. Entonces, siempre siento como una hija única.
Es la misma experiencia, claro.
Ok, qué bueno. Um, Mencionaste que escuchas a la música cuando tengas el tiempo. Eh, 2 cosas. ¿Cuál es tu canción favorita en español? Y en el otro lado, cantante favorito de español.
Bueno, claro, hay tantos, pero ahora, dos canciones que a mí me gustan mucho son de Eslabón Armado, así se llama el grupo, Mi Vicio y también Con tus besos. Son canciones bien románticos, hablan del amor y son muy bonitas, me encantan.
¿Cómo se llama el grupo?
Eslabón Armado,
Es la One.
Eslabón Armado.
¿Qué tipo de nombre
Yo,
es
ay,
ese?
creo que estoy pronunciándolo bien, pero no estoy
No,
segura.
no, no, sí, pero ¿qué significa armados de las armas, no?
Sí,
Común.
sí,
¿Qué,
sí.
qué significa eslabón?
A ver, no, creo que es como un de cadena, como link.
Oh. Y ellos son muy jóvenes, ¿no?
Creo que sí.
Ujú, ujú, ok. Yo me estoy mirando en Google.
No sé mucho del grupo, pero las canciones, si es un grupo malo, no sé, pero las canciones son bien bonitas.
Sí, está bien. Sí, está
So,
bien. Ok, eslabón armado. Entonces, ahora sus canciones son tus favoritas y ellos son tu grupo favorito también o hay otro
no,
persona o grupo.
no sé, claro, me encantan los clásicos, como porque estamos hablando de canciones en español, ¿verdad? Grupos que cantan en
Correcto.
español. Claro, me encanta Elvis Crespo, Celia Cruz, este, Aventura, ¿sabes? Un poco de
Sí.
todo, pero esas dos canciones son canciones que a mí me gustan ahora.
¿No?
Hay otro, se llama Alex Quinn, creo. Yo creo que su apellido es Quintero. So, no sé si lo pronuncia Quinn o King, pero tiene una canción Negrito que a mí me encanta también.
¿Cómo se llama? ¿Grito?
Negrito,
Aquí está, aquí está.
Negrito. Es como un himno a los negritos.
Oh, qué bueno, pero él es afro-latino.
Sí, creo que sí.
Ok. Estoy mirando. Pues puedo mirar más tarde. Gracias por las recomendaciones. Ok.
Sí, claro.
Perfecto. Y es el fin.
Ok,
The end.
perfecto.
So you speak very very well, which I didn't doubt that. But earlier, if you and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you mentioned being nervous when we thought it was in fully in Spanish. ¿Por qué? Eres
Porque
excelente.
no es mi primer idioma, claro, y a veces hasta hoy en día tengo miedo de equivocarme, so.
Oh, basta. I think that's the right expression. Stop.
Mhm.
No, that was great. I'm sure if a person's on the phone with you, they think you a native. I don't know. What do you hear that your accent is like, or the way in which you speak? You hear it's kind of what Cuban, Dominican, what?
Usually, I think, of course, because of the way I look, I get Dominican. That's usually what I get. Dominican, from Panama, any place where there's lots of
Us, yeah.
us. But usually people say, I thought you were Dominican. I'm like,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. My point is, I'm whatever group. I'm like, of course, especially on the phone, a person would think they talking to a native. Like, okay, you're great.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive right in, Ashley. And start at the beginning, al principio. Why in the world did you learn Espanol and not French or another language?
Okay. Well, again, I said I'm from a small town. So it started out here in Florida. We have a scholarship, Bright Futures. And pretty much, if you take certain courses, you get a certain score on SAT, ACT, do community service, and fill out the right papers, you get this scholarship. And one of the requirements, of course, is to take 2 consecutive years of a foreign language. And that's where it started. I started in high school. I was like, let me go ahead because I need this scholarship. Let me go ahead and take these classes. And Spanish was our only option. There wasn't any other choice. So that's how it started. It was
Mm-hmm.
just let me get this scholarship. And then after my first 2 years, the teacher talked to me. She said, "Oh, you have a knack for this. This is something that comes
Mm.
easy to you. You should continue." And so I was like, "Okay, I need another elective. Why not?" So I continued. And it's so funny that school at the time we didn't have a good like ESOL program, for English for speakers of other languages. And there was a young lady, Jessica, who's still a friend of mine to this day, who came from Honduras and did not speak any English or not much English at the
Mm.
time. And so my Spanish teacher was also an ESOL teacher. So they placed her in our Spanish class. And I was just fascinated. I had to learn to be able to speak to her in Spanish. It just became one of those, like, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. So
Nice.
we used to have conversations. At first, I'll never forget, we would write down our conversations on paper and try to use as much, like she would be trying to learn English and she would write down as much English as she could, and I would write down as much Spanish, and we would just kind of
But it kind of comes easy. A lot of people say they can read and write better at first. It's like
first,
easing into it.
right.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. I mean, but I don't know, it was something that I was so interested in and was determined to grasp. So I took advantage of opportunities like that to practice with her. We later on in high school, we had the chance to go to a neighboring elementary school, and we would help with the ESOL students there. A lot of times in high school, you can be a TA or an assistant to a teacher, and I helped ESOL students in English classes my senior
Um,
year. So just a lot of different little things that just
that is
really.
beautiful. And it's just, and I hear that a lot from a lot of the guests. Young, when they started out young, everybody learns at different stages, but for those who
Mhm,
started learning from high school on or junior high, they just had an innate drive. It
mhm,
wasn't forced. It was just something in you. Your spirit connected with it, but
right.
you also sought out the connection or sought out the opportunities to grow in it, and you did. So that I hear that commonly with people who are fluent today and when they started in high school. That's great. And that's
Right.
what I was going to ask you. I'm glad you brought up Jessica, because I was going to ask, being in Florida, yeah, I know there are a lot of Latinos in certain cities, but
Mhm.
my question is, were there not many Latinos in Live Oak other than Jessica and her folks?
Actually, there were. It's a small area where it's an agricultural area, right? There's lots of work. So quite a few people come there from Central America, Mexico to work. So there's a large group of people, a large number of people that are there in the area. Some have been there for years, and so, their family just grows, but there are other people who come there to work.
Mm-hmm. So with that, even at that young age, in your early stages, you were speaking with Jessica, you were helping with the ESOL students. Would you go out into the community and just end up speaking Spanish at the grocery store and to everybody you came across, or you weren't there yet?
I wasn't there yet. I did work my senior year. I worked in the library, the public library, and people would come there to check out books or check out programs, to learn English. So, I checking out books, checking in books, I would help, and I would take advantage of those chances, like that one on one. But I wasn't. I was kind of shy, kind of laid back. So I'm like, I'm not gonna just talk to any random person. But I did do it there at work, and that again gave me other opportunities to practice and to learn and to mess up and not be afraid to.
That is beautiful. Ooh, that's so nice. Such a nice origin story. Okay. Now, so you already mentioned starting and having learned in high school. So your teacher said you should continue. So you went on and just did Spanish all your 4 years of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
after that, did it continue in a university or study abroad? Nothing. What about after that?
No, absolutely. I majored in Spanish. I went to Florida State University. I majored in Spanish. Um, I forgot what I was about to say. What was I going to say? What was the question you asked me? I told
The
you.
question was just okay, I just confirmed that you did learn all 4 years of high school since you're going off your teacher's recommendation. And
Of
then the
course.
question was, what happened after the 4 years of high school? How
Okay.
did you continue learning?
Oh yes. Okay. So like I said, in college, I majored in Spanish. I did continue doing ESOL with, like the public school system there. I would go out to work with certain families, and a couple other programs where I helped teach ESOL mainly to Spanish speakers. Um, I studied abroad in Guadalajara, Mexico, my my sophomore year. Not the whole year. I did like a summer semester. So after my sophomore year, I did study abroad in Mexico as well.
Hmm.
And of course, I mean, I've done before teaching. I've done several other work, and I've done other jobs, right? I've done a lot of other things, and each time I always used the Spanish. Like I was that one person who spoke Spanish, who spoke to all of the Spanish-speaking clients, or, did translation or did interpreting. So I've used it in my work always.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That'll keep you sharp. Having
Hmm.
to use it in the field and getting speakers from different places, and they have different speeds and different accents, and
Right.
you have to talk. Yeah, and depending on your job, you have to learn new terms, and it's
It's
yeah,
true.
that'll keep you on your toes.
It
That's
does. And it did. But it also kept me working. So that's
yeah.
another plus.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. But that's good. That's really good. How was that experience in Guadalajara? I don't know if you, and I can't assume, saying you've never been out the country before that, but if you had or had not, either way, how was that a time in that city?
The only other place I had been was Jamaica. So it was still a culture shock at first. I don't know if the program that I studied abroad with made this happen or what, but my roommate was actually a black girl my same age who is also still a friend to this day. Um, she lives in Florida now. She lives in Miami as well. So we had that instant connection. So that was a blessing to help with the culture shock a little bit. But it's an amazing experience. I think it didn't take me too long to get used to being there and being in this new culture. We, studied at the University of Guadalajara. They have a school or a center specifically for extranjeros. And I don't know, I think it was mainly having her, and we got along well. We got along really good. So having her there, we lived in a homestay, and she and I shared a room. And we got lucky. We had a really awesome room. We had our own private bathroom. We had our own two beds. We had a
Ooh.
big patio. It was a very nice house. And we got lucky, so we just connected and we did everything. We would go, it's a few years back, so we would go to the internet cafe to have our time with our families and to, write messages, go to the phone together. So, I mean, of course, it's different. It's something to get used to, but I think it was awesome to have that roommate, and we traveled and we did adventures and things on our own together to
Oh,
help ease the transition.
that is so nice. Yes, that always helps abroad when you're abroad, and it eases loneliness and a lot of other stuff when
Hmm.
you find somebody to bond with. Yes,
Right.
ma'am. Okay, muy bien, perfecto. So today, hoy en día, how do you keep your skills sharp and fresh?
The same. I mean, I'm in Spanish most of the day at work.
Mhm.
It's become a part of my life, like I listen to lots of music, I watch shows just kind of naturally.
Mm,
Friends that I talk to in Spanish, coworkers, colleagues. So it's kind of now it's just a part of my life. Like it's
mm,
not necessarily a concentrated effort.
mm-hmm. It's just you integrated it on in. That's
Mm,
nice. You see, you made it. That's how you know you made it. When it's just like that's sweet is who I am. So you, you know,
okay, I
like
guess I will take it.
yeah, because if it's like really how you're living, it's literally who you are at this point. It's effortless. That's great.
Right.
Next up, what was most difficult for you to learn when you first started learning? So whether it was something right in high school or later in college, but early on, what was one thing or some things that were difficult?
Definitely the different accents. Talking to people from different places because in high school, friends were Mexican. I had the one friend who was from Honduras. My teacher was Costa Rican, but it's still, kind of similar. It's not so fast. So I remember the first time talking to somebody from the Caribbean. It was like, what in the world are you saying? Like, I thought I knew some Spanish. Clearly, I know nothing. So getting used to that and learning the different accents for sure. Um, I think also getting past being afraid. Being afraid to
Mm,
make a mistake was a big deal for me. I was, thinking like, oh, they're not going to accept me, or people don't understand me, or I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to be embarrassed. So I think that was a bigger challenge, just like getting past that.
that's good.
A friend of
Yeah.
mine told me, she said, you just have to talk it. Actually, Jessica, she said, just speak it like it's your language. She said, that's what I do in English. Half of the time, I don't even know if what I'm saying is right, but I just pretend that I'm speaking it as if it were my language. And that has always stuck with me. It's like in the
Yeah.
that voice in the back of my head, just talk like it's your language.
That's good. And that's something a lot of people struggle with. Some people may know all the grammar rules. They've been studying it for so many years,
Mhm.
but they won't open their mouth because they don't want to sound dumb. So
Right.
that's key. That's key. Is there anything that you still struggle with today? So something that's kind of difficult.
I think honestly still that. I in work, I'm in a room with colleagues that all speak Spanish or that are from a Spanish speaking country. And sometimes, teachers can kind of be judgy though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, sometimes I am a little bit intimidated. I don't want to talk in Spanish because I don't want to be judged if I'm with
Mm,
colleagues, or I don't want to not necessarily be judged. Like that sounds harsh, but that same embarrassment, like
mhm.
getting past that, don't want to make a mistake because I'm supposed to be a teacher, and so I can't make a mistake type of
Yeah.
thing. So I
Yeah.
think really still now it's that.
That's honest. That's
Hmm.
honest. It is. Okay, muy bien. Um, you really kind of hinted on this, but it's on the list. So if your answer's the same, fine. But if you have anything to add, that's cool too. How has learning Spanish benefited you personally, professionally, or in any other way?
Wow. Personally, being able to experience a different part of life, especially here in Florida, we have so many restaurants, and being able to go to Mexico and talk to a taxi driver and not be afraid to do that,
Mhm.
or talk to my family there without being afraid to do that, and just experiencing that and having the background already. Um, like I said, here there's so much culture and so many, so much music and so much television and so many books and so many things that you have access to that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. So that's awesome. It opens your mind to like a whole new world. Professionally, I've always been able to get a job, a lot of times because I was able to communicate well both in English and in Spanish, in writing and speaking. I could write that letter, or I could translate that transcript or that document, and I could also speak to the client. So in both English and Spanish. So that I've always had a job because of that. And there have been times where I did get hired over someone else because of that. So I think definitely in those ways, I don't regret the challenge. I don't regret having learned the language.
And let me go back to your beginnings. And you said right after your 4 years in high school, you went ahead and majored in it in college. Why? Is it because you knew from high school on, this is what I'm gonna dedicate myself to, or had you been considering other majors? What made you someone to major in it though?
At first, I thought that I wanted to be a foreign service officer, and I was gonna, work at the embassy in some Spanish-speaking country.
That sounds cool.
'Cause
I didn't, I didn't even think that was a job. Like some things just don't know. Like I never even knew that was a job.
that's what I don't know how I ran across that or how I got interested in that, but that's what I thought that I wanted to do. So I did a double major actually in Spanish and Latin American and Caribbean studies. So that was the plan. 9/11 happened, and my whole
Oh,
mind shifted. My whole course shifted. I think that really scared me, and kind of, how life was at that point, right?
oh yeah.
So took a shift, and I think I lost direction actually for a little while. I just knew that Spanish was a challenge. I wanted to continue, but really I wasn't for sure after that how I would continue. So it took a little while, to be honest, to kind of find my way and find my course, because
Hmm.
I was definitely thrown off by that. So
Hmm. Okay. Interesting point. Interesting point. You said it's called a foreign service officer.
hmm
Yep. Never knew. Never knew.
I
Okay.
was gonna work with the embassy.
Let's see. People automatically assume this is what I've gotten. I don't know what you've gotten. So,
hmm
when I started learning, and then when I became fluent, and now even I don't hear too much now, but in the beginning, people would find out I'm bilingual, and they'd say, "Oh, you know Spanish? Oh, you gonna make that big money?" And I'm like, "Where's the big money?" It's so have you found that to be a common assumption that because you speak more than one language, you're just gonna be a millionaire, or do you get that too?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've definitely heard that same thing. Like, oh, so you make big money? No. Oh, so they pay you extra? No. Um, I have never had a job where they paid me extra just because I spoke Spanish.
Are you? Wait a minute. I'm
Mm-mm,
surprised about that because I've even had
mm-mm,
that. It wasn't a lot, like $5 more, but it was something.
mm-mm.
What?
No, not once. Each time I was hired because of that, but it wasn't like an extra
No,
boost or an extra pay.
incentive. No, that's now that part I'm used to, and that's what I expect now. Like,
But it's not, but jobs that you see there, it's not a lot. It's not a huge incentive, and it's not, I think the potential is there. Like the potential to make a lot of money is there with anything, right?
correct.
Depending on how you flex it, right?
Yeah,
But in general, no.
yeah.
Not.
Just because you come out the gate and say I know Spanish, money's not gonna be thrown at you. You gotta work to find where for me and how I like to use the language. Where are the dollars? Takes some
Exactly.
while. Yeah.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm upset. I'm about that you don't make extra because no, look, they need their 11 hour. I need my 16. I came here with because
I
I'm
think
used to that. I'm used to that.
I think though it's because it's in Florida, and you
Correct.
have so
Correct.
many, which is that seems backwards, right? Because you have so many clients, you have so many people that do come to the area that don't speak English well enough to do business, or they feel more comfortable doing business in Spanish. So you have the need is here, but I don't know. I
But
don't know that
also maybe because there are more of you all Spanish speakers, native or not, to balance the need. Like in Arkansas, we're a hot commodity
right.
because there aren't as many. So I guess I get your point.
I think that's the main reason.
That would make sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay. Let's see. So now, because you're in Florida, we have to take all that into consideration. This question may not hit like it was somebody else. But the question is, how do Latinos respond when you start speaking Spanish? Because you're where you are and people come in all different shades. Maybe they don't even pay it any attention. But what has been your experience there?
It's been the same. I still get like, hey, like surprise, that look, like, how do you speak Spanish? How do you know Spanish? And I'm thinking, really? Like, you look just as black as I do.
Well, maybe I guess they can tell. I don't know. You're a little more Americanized. Is it something that makes you look a little more American than they would? No.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe my hair or something, but I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
Because how there's Hispanic people that look like both you and I look way
That's
darker than us, way like,
yeah.
what I mean. We come in every shade everywhere.
It's true.
So I don't know, but I do get that a lot. Like, how is it that you speak Spanish? Typically younger people just assume that I'm Dominican or assume that I'm Hispanic. But it's definitely older people that are like, oh, well, where are you from? How is it that you speak Spanish? Why do you speak Spanish? And it's usually a story. I have to tell the story behind it to get like, okay, that's not what we're here for, you know? And so I had a job one time where I had access to kind of see where the person was from
Yeah.
while I'm talking to them. So every single time somebody would come into my office, they'd ask me that and go through the history. I'm like, look, we don't have time for this, like, I just need to handle your case. So I would tell them sometimes, I was like, oh, I'm from wherever, or my dad is from wherever, just to make sure it was somewhere different from where they were from, just to stop the questioning,
Yeah.
like
Because it
and
can
that
get draining. It can get draining because, and I don't, and let me ask you this. I talked to somebody, another guest about this partially, but I'm going to ask you a question now that I just not thought of. Do you think sometimes they ask us that because they want us to prove ourselves, or it's just pure interest, or what's your thoughts on why we get questioned?
I think it's a mixture of it all. Um, I think it's a mixture of it all. I've experienced different things. I think I felt in certain conversations where I needed to prove that I could help them, that I would be able to manage this conversation in Spanish to be able to help them the way they needed to. Sometimes it was just they felt that I wasn't Hispanic and I wasn't going to connect in certain positions. And then there have been other times where it's just interest, like, wow, that's just so interesting. I want to know your story and why, what made you want to learn my language. So it's been a mixture of it all.
I got you. I got you. Okay. ¿Qué más? All right. So now, folks that aren't Latino, so just a Black American, or European American, or whatever, Asian, Asian, how do they respond when they notice you speaking?
But I think it's more interest for, other people that are not Hispanic. I think it's just, wow, that's interesting. It's the same question though, like, where are you from? Are you Hispanic? Once they find out that I'm not, well, why did you learn? Why did you want to do this? And it's just, well, there's a group of people that need help, with that communication, and it was just, the same story I've already told you. It was just something that was a challenge and I wanted to conquer it. I wanted to be able to do it. So I get that, and I get a lot of other people now, more often now than before, that, wow, that's so interesting. I really have been wanting to learn Spanish too, or I've been wanting to learn another language as well.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, muy bien. So I'm going to ask something here. What made you want to start your platform, Español con Ashley?
thank you. First, to be honest, it kind of started out of boredom. I was just like, oh, I want to do something else, with how life is now and with Corona and quarantining. And at first, we were working at home. I just kind of needed something else to, you know, reach out to other people. I don't know, I don't know why.
No,
It's just kind
I
of.
mean, coronavirus brought out a lot of little activities out of everybody, I think. So,
It
yeah.
did. And I have another page. I teach Spanish, which that started with, I wanted teachers, to be able to go to, search I teach Spanish. And when they go there, they find resources that are for us. Like, there's so many times where I've had kids, even in my own classes, Black kids that are in my class, they're like, wow, I didn't know there were Black people that spoke Spanish. And it just kind of made me realize, well, it's true, because I was in that same experience. It wasn't until I remember I took a Caribbean literature class in college, and one day I walked into the classroom and the teacher was playing this, or the professor was playing this music. Dun, 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 dun. I walk in, I'm like, okay, I look at the screen and I see Celia Cruz on the screen, and I'm like, whoa, who is that? And then, I'm listening to that song. It was La Vida es un Carnaval, which I didn't mention before. That is actually one of my favorite songs ever. But it was that song, and then right after that, the video, he played it in class. I don't remember what the assignment was, but it was La Negra Tiene Tumbao.
Yeah.
And just from that alone made me really interested in the African diaspora to Latin America specifically, and learning more about that. And that wasn't until I was in university, that I even realized that myself. So I think as a teacher, I wanted to make sure that I was including Afro-Latino experience and Afro-Latino resources just on the everyday, not just during Black History Month,
Yeah.
not just during a particular time. Just this week, we're talking about Cuba, and we're going to talk about Celia Cruz, Roberto Clemente, and not just those, historical figures, so to speak, but also people every day. So that's why I started, seeking out different resources of just different things that are happening right now. And I said, okay, other teachers need this information so that they can share as well. So I've
Amen.
kind of started to do that. And then I decided, you know what? Why don't I do this challenge and eventually, start to be that face and be a representative, right? To show, like you said, other kids, Black kids, that, hey, we can learn foreign languages as well. We can learn Spanish, we can learn French, and it benefits us. We have people that look like us that are native speakers of these languages as well. So
That's good. I need to hit up your site like after we finish this because I was contracted by a school to teach as a black school for black children, and well, not for black children, just predominantly black children. Go there, and I've been noticing that like I like to teach with songs, and I like to use lyrics training.
Love
But
that.
a lot of lyrics training stuff is not melanated, and I had to search and dig to find Chokitang.
Right.
And so I said, I need to figure something out because I want to teach them the music, but there are so many artists that look like them that they can connect to, and it's not on lyrics training, at least not up front. Like I may have to go to click pending and dig, and okay, son, okay, you got to wait a little bit. All right, you want to say
Hi.
hi?
Hi, aren't you a cutie?
Wait a minute.
Hi.
Okay, can I go? Let me finish. Okay, I get something to drink in a minute. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I feel you 100%. So you said I teach Spanish. I teach languages. What'd you say?
I teach Spanish.
Okay.
Also
Yes.
on Instagram.
Yes, ma'am. And I've come across two Facebook groups now, but I've met the owners of the group leaders, and I need to start really going and digging into their resources. But it's been on my mind more. How do I teach more Afro Latino stuff? Because it helps so much for anybody
Mm-hmm.
when you can see yourself in the language.
It's
Even
true.
if you're not melanated, you're white or whatever, you can pick a country, connect with it, or pick a famous person, pick something that really piques your interest. Because for me, it was failure. And that's why I'll tell a person when I don't want to talk about how I know Spanish, I just say I'm Cuban and keep walking.
I do too.
But
I pick a country. Some days it's
I'm
Panama.
Cuban here. But it was because of failure and cover your mouth, please. It was because of failure and her being Afro Latina and me learning there were Afro Latinos through her. It just made me feel something, and inside. So I've told that to them already. If you can find yourself in this language, that's going to help you a whole lot when it comes to learning it.
It does. It definitely added a different level for the connection. Yes, I was interested in the challenge, but like I said, I'll never forget that day walking in that class and seeing that. It just really sparked a greater interest, and that connection became one. And that's very important right now, especially in a public school for our kids, especially. But I think other kids need to see that we exist all over the world, you know?
You know what's even almost, let's not say more sad, just sad as well. Some native Latinos don't know they're Afro Latinos. Like right now, I'm taking a class, master's or grad level course called Social Conflicts of Mexico. And I had to bring it up in class because it wasn't on the syllabus, but I learned maybe just a couple months ago they're afro-mexicanos. But they're in like certain far off populations in their certain little area. A lot of Mexicans don't even know they're there. If they go to big cities, there's questioned, like. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess I know why at the end of the day, but it's just sad to know, being Afro American, we, even though so much is wrong and not right here, we see ourselves in just about every industry at this point.
Right.
In news, commercials, obviously sports, medicine. We see ourselves everywhere. Oh, hey, can you please stop that, por favor? Gracias. Okay. We see ourselves at some point, but it was very sad for me to still learn that even today, hoy en día, there are still or just now commercials that are featuring Afro Latino in Latin America. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hard to even here, looking through, like, again on Netflix or on any platform, looking for television shows or looking for things that feature Afro Latinos. It's very difficult to find. It's very difficult to find. And even when I was in Mexico, I took one of the courses I took was a culture. I don't remember exactly. I think it might have been Hispanic culture, but anyway, I wrote a paper about the Afro Mexicans, a group of Afro Mexicans there, and the professor was not happy about that.
Why?
Right? He just thought that it was like a hoax, that the resources weren't accurate. He was just not okay with that paper. I did not that class, I think I still ended up with a B in that class, but that paper I did not get a good grade on because he did
Actually,
not trust the sources. He did not like the information about it. Was
so to
all
clarify,
about
that's deep, and that says a lot about him and his mindset. But it's obviously not just him. I guess let me see, make sure I'm getting my words right. There's a difference between being surprised and something you didn't about something you didn't know. You learned something new today, yay, and
right.
then being so surprised you don't believe it. So he wasn't even willing to accept that they exist. Is that what you're saying? Like he had never heard of it and didn't think you, being from another country, would know
Right.
like that.
It- right. And I had resources because I mean, it was a college course just like any other. It was just, we were in Mexico and it was in Spanish, you know? So, but yeah, that particular paper, I did not get a good grade on because he didn't trust the resources. He thought that the information was not accurate. It was a whole thing.
I'm upset. But anyways, I'm gonna move on. That
Yes.
is nuts. That is nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely I can only imagine how Afros and Afro Latinos in those countries feel still not being fully represented.
Hmm.
You know, in 2021, that's loco.
Right.
Okay, moving on. So, what do you recommend for anybody who wants to learn the language with your 9 years of the experience being a teacher, and you having these platforms as well? What are your recommendations? And I mean somebody who's like is zero. What's your recommendation for somebody who wants to learn?
I always say first, music. Lyrics Training is an app that I do recommend a lot because I think music is something that connects us all. Right? We can always find a genre that we love. We can find an artist, visuals that we love, and I think with that, just listening and watching the videos and reading the lyrics along with it and trying to pick out what you can hear. I think music is one of the best resources for reading, listening, connection, culture, you know. Um, I think there are a few followers, people that follow me that are, starting from the beginning. And I'm still finding my way even on that site, on that page, on that platform. But seeking out platforms that are teaching the basics, um, using apps like Duolingo for sure. And, again, not being afraid to just practice. Go practice a phrase. Like you learned a new phrase, you memorized a new phrase. Go try it on somebody and see how they respond. Like I
Mhm.
think that just not being afraid to try to speak it and use a little bit. You'll be surprised how much you learn just from doing that. And of course, television. We have access to so much now. Like watching Netflix is amazing to me as when it comes to that, and YouTube. But Netflix, especially because you have the dub, you can change the language both on audio and on the subtitles. So watching shows, new things or old things that
Yeah,
watching them, but this
because
time watch
because
it
you
in
already
Spanish.
know all the words in English, so you're not missing nothing. You're just
Right,
gaining Espanol. Yeah, that's good.
right.
Let me ask you this: in your opinion, when people do decide to use the language resources in watching on Netflix or whatever, you mentioned audio and subtitles. Now, only reason I don't like that is because they always conflict. It seems like they never hire the audio person to do be the subtitle person. Which one do you think is better? That they do all audio only or all subtitles only, or just go ahead and do both and just know it's going to be a conflict? What's your recommendation there?
I mean, know that there will be a conflict, but I say one for me, I can't stand dubbed anything because I can't stand looking at their mouths and it not matching. So I prefer to hear the language as it is and read the subtitles in English if it's a language that I don't know. A lot of times I'll watch things in Spanish with the Spanish subtitles just to kind of but if it's a new learner, somebody that's just starting out learning it from the beginning, I would say watch television shows that are in the language with English subtitles. And it's easy, just from facial expressions and from what's happening in the television show or the movie, you can kind of match words, especially isolated expressions and things like that. And if you're really serious about learning, watch with your notebook, and write down things that you hear, or, even maybe watch things in English with Spanish subtitles
Mm-hmm.
if you're practicing with the reading. And like I said, watch with a notebook, write down things and see, let me go look that up. Is that really how you say that? How do you use this? And
Mm-hmm.
wordreference.com is like my Bible.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
but that's what I used to do, because again, I'm from that era before Google, right? The Ask Jeeves era.
But I feel, but
And
it's still helpful because I struggle with that now with some of my clients. People just don't believe in taking notes anymore. Like I'll say, write this down. Especially like the children. 'Cause I guess school not making them write anything down anymore. But I've had that with adults. They don't want to write. And it's just like, look, I know it may sound mundane or monotonous, but there's power in writing.
it
Just,
is.
it's going to take us 1 minute for you to write these 3 words down. Come on now.
Right.
But some people just don't want to write. Matter of fact, I had a client last night. It was funny. I didn't get mad at him because he's young, maybe 10 years old. It was virtual. We weren't in person. So I told him, write this down on the screen. Click. I hear a click. He made me laugh because he didn't realize him taking a picture. They had
Oh,
the picture sound. He didn't realize that. I guess he thought I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna write it. I'm just gonna take a picture and move on. So I heard the
right.
click click, and I said no, no. So I know it's easier, but I need you to write it down.
Right.
It just made me laugh. He thought it was being slick, but it's all right.
Right. No, I definitely find that with my students all the time. And I have to say, no, this time, write it down. Because I don't know, it engages another sense. And it's
Mm-hmm.
important to engage all of your senses to really internalize things.
Amen.
Um,
But
so,
that's, you know what, though? That's why people don't write in English. That's why they can't spell no more either. But that's a whole
right.
nother conversation.
Oh,
But
my mercy. But I think it has something to do with it for sure.
yeah, because even in our own language, we're losing that ability. So
Hmm.
it's like, oh, well, to learn a new one, I'm making it in mine without it. So yeah, it's a
Hmm.
different world though, baby. Okay.
Right.
So we are wrapping up. Is there anything else you want to share? A funny story or just another perspective or point to mention? Anything else from you before we wrap it on up?
I don't think anything different from what we've already said. Like, you can do it. We learn it. There are lots of people. And actually, I've been surprised learning how many people there are that are learning different languages, not even just Spanish, but Japanese and Korean. You can, but it does take effort. And
Amen.
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to just throw it out there, try and find things that are, in the language that really interest you. But like I said, nothing more than what we've shared already.
And to reiterate, your platform isn't just if anybody wants to follow your journey or get some resources. Can you mention once again the ways in which they can reach out?
Right now, just on Instagram, Espanol con Ashley, and then also I teach Spanish.
All righty, you heard it, folks. So now, for those of you who were with us in the beginning, Ashley and I conducted her introduction in Espanol, and now you get some clarification. So you'll see what you got right and what you got wrong. And through the interview, we've given you a lot of really answers. But well, let's go and do it again. So we know your name is Ashley French, but where are you from?
I am originally from a small town in North Florida called Live Oak. It's right in between Tallahassee and Jacksonville. But I'm in the Tampa Bay area now.
Muy bien. Your job or jobs, whatever you do to earn money.
I am a Spanish teacher at a public high school here in the area.
Okay, fun. And then we discussed the challenge because you teach so many different levels. And
Right. I
mhm.
teach 2, 3, 4, and AP, and I have both online and in-person students at the same time, all day
Oh,
long.
oh, all right. Your pastimes when you have time.
I think before I said that I don't have a lot of free time, but I do, listen to music a lot. I watch different shows, and I mentioned a few shows on Netflix that I am really enjoying right now. The one that I mentioned was called Criminal, and there's different series. So if you're learning French, there's one for that, German, and Spanish, and then of course one in the UK. So awesome show.
Good. I need to take a
For
peek.
adults. For
I've never
adults.
even seen it come up as a recommendation. So
I don't even know how I came across it, but again, definitely for adults. I know that you teach children, so that's I'm like, wait a minute.
thanks for that disclaimer.
Right.
Hey, let's see what else. Tell us about your family.
um, I am. My mom is African American. My dad is from Jamaica. Single, no kids. Living life.
That's all right. You're free. Be free. Then you see your child's not popping up in your interview. See? Be
That's
free.
okay.
All right. And so is this the last one? Okay, kind of sort of. Your favorite song in Spanish and favorite singer in Spanish as well.
Okay. So earlier I mentioned Eslabón Armado.
Yes.
Again, I don't know a whole lot about the group, but a couple songs that I love are Mi Vicio and Con Tus Besos. And then I mentioned also that another song that I really like, it's called Negrito,
Mm-hmm.
and it's by Alex Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is sort of like an anthem for Black people, and
I need
I
to.
just it's
I mean,
beautiful.
it's on my tab right now on my computer screen, but I need to write that one down because I definitely want to give that a listen.
I think it's a cover, but I honestly I'm not sure, but I do think it's a cover. So I don't know who sings it originally, but
Okay. All right. Well, good. Muy bien. Es el fin. The
awesome.
end. Well, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time and your patience. And we finally were able to get this together.
No, this it was an honor being able to talk to you. Like I love watching and seeing what you're doing as well.
Oh,
That it's
gracias.
awesome.
Well, to you, the viewers, gracias a ti también por tu tiempo. And be sure to like, subscribe, all those annoying things YouTubers tell you to do. If you don't want to miss any episodes, I recommend you do the same. So thanks for tuning in y hasta la próxima vez. Bye.
Adios.